both the ground my energy because I think we both need it, huh? All right, I'm just gonna ask the ministry evangelist surround both of us with your beautiful white light, Rob and I. To open my heart to divine unconditional love and ask to connect to my highest self, guides, and angels, and those of my guest, Rob. There we go. It's to be a clear channel with which to receive and communicate their wisdom. I ask to release any expectations I have towards the outcome of the work that we do together today. And I ask that the outcome of this work serve the highest and greatest good. Amen. All right. Should we go live?
You've never done that before. Yes.
Oh, I've never done that?
No, meaning that you probably live in that space of what you just shared. It was so
You're
beautiful.
so funny. I said most certainly. I mean, I would love to live in that space. I aspire to live in that space, and I'm living in it more and more every day. But no, that's why I say the prayer. But I could tell that you came with a little disrupted energy, and I came with a little disrupted energy. So I thought it would be good. Is that good?
Awesome. I love
Okay.
it.
I mean, maybe you didn't, and I'm just
Oh,
projecting.
I love it. I'm always open to that. Yeah, for sure.
Good deal. Okay. Sorry. All right. So we're gonna go live on Facebook. That I lost you, but you'll come back. Facebook Live with Rob Mack. Oh, it actually knows what this is. Every single time it makes me type out the entire name of my group. There's only one place I ever go live, but Zoom does not have the capability to know that. All right. Yay, we should be live. Whoops, we're live right about now. All right, good deal. Let me find us on here. And I'm so excited to be live today with you, Rob, and reconnect. And this is Rob Mack. For those of you who are just tuning in, and he's the guest this week on the Intuitive Connection podcast. And yeah, I have one of the things that I have the honor of doing when these episodes go live is listening to them a few more times so we can do all the social media and the notes. And so I've listened to your episodes so many times, Rob. It was such an inspiration. You are such an inspiration.
Well, it takes light to recognize light, so it's easy, and it's so much easier to be the light when you're in the light. So thank you for that.
I love that. Thank you. But really, I might have listened to it like 5 or 6 times. So I invite you all to do the same. It was such an inspiring conversation, and I learned so much. And personally, on my own journey, I have, and I think I talked about this in the episode too, I've really been working on deepening my happy and learning to, and we talk about this in the episode too, learning to run on the fuel of joy, right? Rather than the fuel of anxiety, worry, like all of those things that were just, how many of us live our lives. And so what you do is so powerful and important to help people to live in joy and ease and grace, because that's our birthright, right?
Absolutely. And you're also right, which is joy, peace, and happiness and love is clean energy, and stress and anxiety and misery and unhappiness is dirty energy. And sure, you can get some things accomplished through the dirty energy, but it's so much happier, healthier, and I think ultimately wealthier to live your life with clean energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels good. And that's the important part. So I kind of don't know where I want to go, because Rob has a second book out, which you can't see because it's backwards, Love from the Inside Out. His first book is, what is your first book? Happiness from the Inside Out.
Yeah.
There we go. And I was telling him, I just got this last night, and already it is dog-eared. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I'm curious about your writing process on this, because this is so different than the first book, which reads a little bit more like a how-to book. And this is just, it's meditations and inspiration. So I'd love to hear about how this one came through for you, if you don't mind sharing.
Absolutely. I'm open book with you for sure. This was direct downloads and insights that I received. They were all, I wouldn't say they were unsolicited. They were all solicited. They were all invited. And I tried to stay open and receptive to hearing or receiving the downloads and insights when they came. But they'd often come at seemingly the least convenient time. And it was not for me trying to force them or make them happen, but it was just like, just stay open, Rob, just stay open and see what comes through. And so I just kind of collected these insights and downloads that occurred and surfaced over the course of many, many years. And then one day I thought I should put them together into a book or something somewhere and organize it all. And that's ultimately what I did. So it was a much more effortless, enjoyable process for me. It was like the book more wrote itself than I wrote it.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. And it's beautiful inspirations and all about love and self-love and love in our relationships and love for the world. And what I wrote in the back last night, so I will read my notes, is that what I love about it is I feel like a lot of people in the world are teaching self-love, right? Or they're teaching other love. And I think those are two lessons that we have to learn. And of course, loving others is really an extension of your self-love. But the way that you do this book, it's so balanced, it's so seamless. It's really beautiful because I think sometimes we get out of balance of, do unto others, right? Or take care of yourself. And I'm always about taking care of yourself. All the peeps that come to me are the ones that have already learned how to love everybody else to the best, and they need to come back and do it for themselves. And they often act kindly and lovingly towards others, for the most part. But I just love that there's a beautiful balance in this book and in the message of, loving ourselves, loving life, loving the world. Can you talk more about that? Because it's
Yeah,
just,
for sure. I love the way you put it, Victoria. You have such a way with words and expressing incredibly profound insights in really simple, clear ways.
that's
And
kind.
yeah, for me, I think one thing I've discovered is, to your point, we don't often define our terms. We assume that we're all talking about the same things when we talk about self-love, for instance. But often when we're talking about self-love, we're talking about love of personality. That's great. I love that. And love of body, love that. And love of the mind and all these things. And that's all great. And I would say that true self that we all ultimately are has a body but isn't a body, has a mind but isn't a mind, has a personality but isn't a personality. It's that which is aware of the mind and the body, the personality, the job, the possessions. And so that true self is love itself. It's pure, undiluted, liquid love itself. And so self-love is actually, to me, a redundant term. It's like love, like the self is love, and love is the self. And there is no love but the self, and there is no self but love. So when you're tapped in, tuned in, turned on to that, when you're being your true self, when you're being that love, you don't have to work so hard at being loving, and you don't have to work so hard at being lovable or receiving love. You just automatically will say you give and receive love effortlessly, but it's not even that. You're just tapped into the infinite internal love that always is within you and around you and within you, within everything that you're doing. So, and the within and without, of course, gets a little confusing, but the idea is that love is all there is when you're tapped into it and turned on to your true self.
I love that. I love that. And I can feel that when you say it. And I also think when we're guided by that and aligned by that, then everything flows through that. And we can't not express love. We are an expression of love.
Oh, that's so good. That's exactly right. I think we often think of the world and our lives as maybe an opportunity to get love or extract love from other people, places, things, or activities. But really, it's an opportunity to express or extend the love that we ultimately are. And when you think about it from that perspective, and when you think about it from the perspective of being effortless and enjoyable in that fashion. So in other words, when you're just abiding in and as the self. So when you're not lost in plotting and planning and scripting and reliving or pre-living any moment, you're just truly present, living as presence itself. So you're not lost in discursive thought. You're not lost in the analytical mind. You're not overthinking. When you are just that, you are abiding or resting in and as true love and happiness and peace. And people feel that without you doing or saying or being anything else other than that. So the opportunity, I think, for most of us is to learn to rest and relax in and as our true nature, which ultimately is peace, love, and happiness.
Amen. Sorry, I was distracted by all the lovely comments that are coming in.
Oh, I
So
love it.
everybody, I am seeing you all. Thank you, Becky and Shari and Dot and Robin and Lexi for tuning in. And I will get your questions. I'm seeing lots of love and lots of hearts going by and lots of comments. If you guys do have questions for Rob, bring them on. I have questions for Rob. The first one that's popping into my brain is around how do love and happiness play together?
So I think of happiness and love as one energy perceived through two different lenses. It's not two different coins. It's the same coin, but two different sides of the same coin. So it's not two energies, it's two perceptions of the same energy. So one way to think about it is that when you're really, really happy and you're all alone, you're introverted, you're ingoing that moment in that day, we'll call it happiness, right? Happy in your aloneness. When you then go out into the world and you're extroverted for a moment or two, or for the day, or you're outgoing and you're spending time with others, when you're happy in your togetherness, we'll call that love. But it's the same energy. When you're happy in your aloneness, we call it happiness. When you're happy in your togetherness, we call it love. Love is just your happiness shared. That's all it is. We could also say it's your self-love shared. Same thing. So happiness and love are synonyms. They are synonyms. And you can use any word you want, but I think love has gotten a bad name and bad rap over the years. And we think about it as though it's something that it's not. It's not different or separate from happiness. If your love isn't happy, I would not call it love, right?
Right.
In the same way that if your love is not free, I would not call it love. So happiness is loving. All happy people are loving people, and love is happiness. All loving people are happy people, and so it just goes back and forth both ways.
Love that. I love that. And you say in the book, and I want to find the page. Where is it? You might remember what you say.
Yeah.
But I read so much. But it's the myth of, love is painful. Love is difficult, right? And if you listen to any popular music song, you certainly get that narrative, right? Can we talk about that? Because I do think and I know some teachers that don't use spiritual teachers that won't use the word love because they're like, I think Eckhart Tolle is one of those, because it's one of those words that's been so misunderstood. I, like you, love the word love. It resonates with me. It is what we are, like, bring it on. And it's just such a beautiful vibration. But can you talk about some of those misunderstandings around what it means to love, be lovable, and also this belief we have to love is to suffer?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good, Victoria. This is why I love conversations with you. My goodness. Such powerful, poignant questions. We often think about love as drama. We think about it as entertainment. Sure, love can be entertaining, but it's not entertainment. Sure, love can be lusty, but it doesn't equate to lust.
Right.
Love can be exciting, but it's not excitement. It's not equivalent or equate to excitement. And love, likewise. So sometimes you experience unhappiness or misery or frustration or jealousy in your relationship. And then we say, well, that just proves that I love this other person. And I would argue differently. I would say that you might be attached to this other person. You might have ideas about this other person. But I would say that if you find yourself consistently jealous or frustrated or overwhelmed, in those moments, you're not resting and relaxing in and as your true nature, which is love. You're actually under the sort of false impression, and you're suffering under the flawed premise or belief that your happiness and your peace and your love is not within yourself. It's within somebody or something else outside of you, that you therefore need to control or change or fix or get rid of or attract, right? And so, unhappy love is not love, right? Unhappy love is 1,000 different things, all which I would call pseudo love, which is not really love at all. We might call it conditional love, but it's not the kind of love I'm talking about. I'm talking about a kind of love that doesn't come, visit for a little while and leave. It's the kind of love that can't come, can't go, because it's always ultimately essentially what and who you are. And that doesn't mean you don't have moments that are challenging or difficult, but it's never love's fault. You might be ego, it might be ego. Yes, always ego. If you're feeling or experiencing any pain or suffering, that is ego. That is not love. Love does not suffer. Love does not fear. Love does not desire.
Love that. It's never love's fault.
Yeah. They blame love all the time. It's like, love, what love does. It's like, no, that's attachment.
I think that's also because we all have an innate sense that we are love and we came to have this human experience. And sometimes we're like, wait, this is hard.
Absolutely.
And so we blame the part of ourselves that was smart enough to know this is a party, right?
Absolutely.
It doesn't feel like a party right now.
I love that so much. Absolutely. It's just judgment. Anything that you feel that isn't love is just judgment. And sometimes it could be good or bad judgment. That's the other piece of it, right? Like sometimes we say, this person or this thing or this activity is so great and I love it so much. Okay, wonderful. And if you're attached to it and it goes away and you suffer, then again, it's really just a mistaken belief that you have. It's never love's fault. It's just a belief that you have that suggests to you that love is something outside of you in the past or future, instead of something within you, always here and now.
What you just said was so powerful too. And I think, oh, I lost the thread. I hope it comes back because I think it answered another question that I've been asking. And it's that there's a little piece I know of me sometimes that when the happiness gets really high, when the unconditional love, when I'm soaring, there's that little bit that goes, oh yeah, no, but you're going to fall. Right. And then, you know,
Yes. Oh,
and I think it speaks to that. It's that belief, right? That, you know, there has to be the yin and the yang.
oh, it's like, how good can life get before I start to distrust life, or I just start to distrust
Yeah.
this happy feeling, this loving feeling? You know, we have all these beliefs wrapped up in these stories around happiness and love. And one of them is no pain, no gain. And one of them is if it, you know, if it sounds too good to be true, it must not be true. You know, and that in order to
Yeah.
experience love, you must suffer, you must be in pain, or experience pain, happiness, you must experience unhappiness. And from in a world of duality, meaning that if your experience of peace, love, and happiness is something you mostly experience through the mind and the body, right? Then yes, that's true. You need, it's the contrast of life that makes life so beautiful, right? So the sweet, you know, it's the bitter that makes the sweet that much sweeter. Okay, yes, the kind of love and peace and love and happiness that I'm talking about is the kind that doesn't require you to think positive thoughts. It doesn't require you to avoid negative thoughts. It's the kind of peace, love, and happiness, the only kind of peace, love, and happiness that it truly exists, that is unconditional, immovable, unshakable, no matter what you think, what you're experiencing with or through your body, no matter what sensation or perception is going on, no matter what the condition or circumstance of your life, no matter how much money you do or don't have, no matter your health or your, you know, lack of health. Okay, so it's always there, above, below, between, beyond, and within every single thought, feeling, emotion, sensation, perception, activity, condition, and circumstance. It's always there, right?
Yes.
So that's an important difference here, something that's important to discern and delineate. Like, you know, most of us think we can think our way to happiness, but you can actually only think your way out of happiness, because happiness
Yes.
is what you are. Yeah.
Yes, it's beautiful. And what do you tell to the person that sometimes is soaring and you, well, you said something else. I'm going to say something else because this came to me the other day too. I think I was listening to our episode and then I was taking a hike, and during the hike, having some beautiful thoughts. And one of the things that I'm noticing in my space right now, which is so cool, is I have intrusive happy thoughts. You know, we all have, I think we all have, I don't know. I've always had the inner critic, right? And in the last year, I've become intimately familiar with that voice and become more aware of it and learn to say hello to it, give it a big hug, and then shift my attention, because it's, you know, it's not a fun voice to hang out with. Whew. But what I've found too, and this has been over the last couple months, maybe longer, but very strikingly over the last couple months, is I have now an inner happy voice. So intrusive thoughts are, and some of them have been going on for a while, just, you know, wow, I'm happy. Wow, I love California. Wow. And they're not thoughts that I feel like I'm, you know, because like the inner critic is, you don't feel like you're generating it, right?
Yes.
On some level you are, but you don't feel like, it's not like a thought that you are, you know, pushing out there. So I will have these beautiful thoughts that are loving, encouraging, exciting, inspiring. And I was out on this walk and all of a sudden I was like, well, can I trust those thoughts? And I was thinking, right, like, why are we so
Yeah.
focused on, yeah, I can trust the one that tells me that, you know, I'm dumb and it's not going to work out. But, you know, the good ones, I can't trust those. Like, what's that about?
It's so interesting, isn't it? I love that point you make. You know, we all have these success contracts or love contracts or happiness contracts in our head, which is just really a system or story of belief systems that sort of indicate or tell us when it's okay to feel or be successful, or what it requires to be successful, what it requires to be happy or loving. It's sort of like a governor on a car that puts a limit on how fast you can go, or a thermostat. And so once you hit that 67 degrees, it kicks in, turns on, and brings the temperature back to 67 or whatever. And so we have these thoughts in our head, these belief systems in our head, and they sort of kick in. Now, that being said, you bring up such a great point, which is like, how can we experience that only with the negative thoughts and not with the or only with the positive thoughts, but not with the negative thoughts? It's like we can think negative thoughts all day and still sort of believe in them and trust them. Whereas with the positive thoughts, we don't trust them at all, and we think things can't get so good, although things can get much, much worse always. And it's really fascinating in a way. And I would say a couple of things. One is the brain is wired in a way that sort of prioritizes the negativity bias. So the brain is wired and designed to keep us alive, not necessarily keep us happy, although if we stay alive, it's easy to be happier in these bodies, right? So there's that. The other piece of that is that we generally beat the drum of what's going wrong in our lives, not just to survive, but also because it's become a habit, and everybody and everything around us encourages us to do the same, because most of those folks haven't spent time or energy really diving deeper to become more self-aware and self-loving, whatever. The other piece of that is, every thought is really limited ultimately. And so, we talk about limiting beliefs, but every belief is limited. We talk about limiting thoughts, but every thought is limited. It's sort of like trying to empty the ocean with a spoon. Like you're better off just throwing the spoon away and just diving in the ocean. And so, my encouragement, I think, certainly for myself, but for everyone, is to enjoy all your thoughts, particularly your happy thoughts. In A Course in Miracles, they say something really beautiful, which is like, at first, we all start off sort of lost in the nightmare, the bad dream. And then as you kind of just dive deeper and deeper into who and what you truly are, you begin to wake up from the nightmare, and that nightmare turns or transforms itself into a happy dream, to a good dream. So from a bad dream to a good dream. And then as you continue along that process and journey, you eventually wake up entirely, and there's no dreaming. And reality is sweeter than any dreams you can possibly have about it. So certainly, if you're experiencing the kind of positive, good thoughts that you are, and hopefully I am, please know that's worth enjoying. Continue and keep that up. And you don't have to have any thoughts at all to feel true peace, love, and happiness.
Right. No, I love that. And I think to what I hear you saying, and this is something else that I've been feeling into a lot, it's, it frees you from the up and down, because neither thought, a good thought, a positive thought may feel more comfortable, but it's not better. It's just a thought.
Yeah, you just nailed it. I mean, the sort of challenge and opportunity is that we experience so much emotional dysregulation in our lives. And it's like this ebb and flow, and
Right.
good one moment and then bad the next. And, it's sort of like going to a movie. And I think we've talked about this metaphor before, and you're familiar with it for sure, which is like you go to a movie, and maybe if you enter the movie, once the images are already projected on the screen, maybe part of the way through the movie, you can quickly find yourself caught up in the movie, and you experience one moment where you're super excited and you're happy and optimistic for the characters in the movie. And the next moment you're depressed and scared and worried and overwhelmed for the characters in the movie. And you can get lost in the movie, forgetting all the while that none of it's real. It's just an illusion. It's all projection of light onto a screen. And the reality of the movie is actually the screen itself, the screen that sort of holds or contains all those images. So that screen behind all the images and the light projection is unmoving or immovable. It's unshakable and unconditional, and it's all embracing, all loving, all welcoming peace, love, and joy. And that screen ultimately is who and what we truly are. It's within you. It is you. And so it's easy if you get lost in the conditioned circumstance of your life. I'm rich one moment, I'm poor the next. There's a pandemic. Now there's a recession. Now it's boom era again. You can get lost all in that up and down experience. But if you're aware all the while that the true reality is God or spirit or your true spiritual or divine self, you don't get lost in the ups and downs as much. And as a result of that, you experience a much more tranquil, serene, and much more enjoyable experience of life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it doesn't mean, at least in my understanding, that you can't play in creating in the outside world and have a blast doing it. What it means is that, you're painting, you're creating, you're having fun, but you're first of all involved with the process. Because when we paint, the funnest part in my mind is the painting, not the finished product. But also that, we're not attached to any particular outcome. We're just playing with a paintbrush. We're just playing with the paintbrush, and we may love some of those brush strokes more than others, but it's not, doesn't define our inner well-being or who we are.
You nailed it. I mean, it's like waking up one day and realizing you're a millionaire or billionaire or trillionaire. Okay, just imagine one day you wake up and you're just as wealthy as any person on the planet's ever been. And so suddenly you can play at everything you want to play at without any real fear or concern that if you lose it all, you can't make it all again, or that you could even lose it all, right? You just
Right.
have some more fun with it all. And so there's less fear and there's less needy, desperate energy in your desiring. And so you just enjoy everything so much more without the fetter of fear and attachment.
Yeah, I love that. So there's a question, and it seems like a non sequitur, but it won't leave my brain. So I'm going to come back to it because I trust I trust what nags in my brain. It's around this idea of set point and our, happiness set point, our well-being set point. I don't think love has a set point. Love just is. But um, I don't know where the question is, but I guess the question is, how do we change that? Because I know that for me, this year has been about really raising and changing the set point, but sometimes I get frustrated.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to do it. So I'd say start where it's easy. So for instance, let's talk about it from a money perspective. I think it's easy for people to think about that way.
Okay.
So if you think about money and wanting to create or cultivate a prosperity perspective or abundance attitude or mindset, at first, I know the mistake I made was trying to call myself a millionaire when I had just a few dollars in my bank account, if that. Okay. And when I then redefined abundance and prosperity to go beyond money and said, in what ways am I abundant and prosperous already? And I started looking to my life and I said, wow, not only do I have all of these incredible people in my life, but I also have health and I have these organs that work all day tirelessly, day in and day out, to pump blood through my blood vessels and to breathe air through my lungs. And when I look beyond that, I look at how many grains of sand there are on any single beach. And I look at all the leaves on the trees. And then I look in the sky and I see the stars in the sky. And then I realize, oh my gosh, we live in this infinite universe. And then there's, this strange little rock that we all live on that's spinning super fast and revolving around a super hot star at just the right distance to not freeze us or burn us up. And it's doing all that without my conscious effort or will. I suddenly come into a recognition that, my gosh, I'm rich. I'm infinitely rich. I'm as wealthy as any person who's ever walked this planet before in the things that truly matter, like my creative faculties, my ability to think, like all these things. I'm really actually quite rich if I think about it. And then if you can do the same thing with love and with happiness, it's like all of those things, the organs, the heart, the lungs, your brain that orchestrates it all, this life or infinite intelligence that spins the earth on nothing or hangs the earth on nothing, spins it on its axis, rotates it around the super hot star that shines that star that we call a sun, that makes the grass grow and the rain flow. Like all of that is love. Like existence loves you. Life loves you so much that it gave of itself to you, continues to give of itself to you every single moment of every single day without asking anything in return. No expectation of reciprocity. Okay. So the more you can look into your life as it exists now, to see the infinite ways in which you are already blessed with infinite love and peace and happiness, the easier it is to really truly let in more and more of the happiness and the peace and the love that you ultimately are. Of course, you're not letting in, you're just recognizing it more and more. So I'd start there, and try to be, honest about it. It's not always easy. Over time, it'll get easier. But if you beat that drum more and more, you'll discover that you're resetting that set point in ways that you won't need to continue to reset. You just find that over time it's adjusted to a place that's higher and higher and higher, and hopefully eventually to a place where there's no set point at all.
It's beautiful. You got me thinking when you were talking. You just reset my set point. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I love that.
I was like, oh, now I feel good again. But I also was thinking, when I spend time in nature, which is a big part of what I do nowadays, that's for me when I feel that interconnectedness. That's when the mind and Victoria goes away. And I just know I'm part of this thing that's greater than me. That's beautiful and wonderful. Yeah. Do you have practices like that just, nothing, you don't have to think or try or do. It's just the little nudges, you're home.
So beautiful. Yes. So I call those, you can call them love islands. You call them happiness islands, peace islands, inspiration islands. But, I think it's important, to your point, to identify the people, places, things, and activities that allow you to feel love, for instance, easily and effortlessly and enjoyably, right? So those people, places, things, and activities that let you feel love or loving or lovable with very little time, energy, and effort. You just identify those things and then you try to schedule them more and more into your life. Sometimes you can't do that right away. Sometimes some of us are so disconnected and out of alignment and have been so for so long from this true nature, which is love, that we're not familiar with. It's not easy to access right away. So instead, you can identify the opposite of those. Those are your love deserts. So those are things, people, places, and activities that make you feel less than loved, less than loving, and less than lovable, right? Or you have to work really hard and spend a whole lot of time, energy, and effort to feel loved or loving or lovable. And so the idea is that you want to sort of reverse engineer out of your life or get out of your life or schedule out of your life all the deserts and as much as possible, and schedule into your life as many items as humanly possible.
I think that is sage advice. That's beautiful. And you think people can find those things easily, like when we start to tune into them?
Yes, and the important thing is to start with the lowest hanging fruit humanly possible. So, like gratitude, another way to talk about love is gratitude. Another way to talk about happiness is gratitude, or presence works as well. Lots of synonyms for these words. But when I started, I remember really struggling and saying, I don't feel love ever. I don't feel loving ever. And so I had to start with a word that was easier for me to kind of embrace, which was just like, well, what do I enjoy? Or when do I feel the least pain and suffering? Right. So you start there. And then you start with the lowest hanging fruit, which is like, in the beginning, all I could come up with was like, well, I don't know. I kind of like the taste of chocolate. That's all I had, or I do love.
That's a big one. I'm sorry, there's no all about chocolate. I mean, chocolate is pretty awesome.
Agreed, right? Agreed. Like, and then I thought, gosh, I love seeing beautiful women. I love seeing beautiful people. And I just started there. It felt really primitive. I started judging myself a little bit about that. But I noticed that the key was start where you cannot fake it. It's got to be authentic. And it doesn't matter how sort of primitive or elementary or introductory it seems, just start there and beat that drum over and over and over again and really try to juice and milk that thing, person, place, activity for as much joy and love and peace as you can get out of it. And if you can keep that up long enough and stay off of the deserts, you'll quickly find that it grows. And then you look at things that you thought were unlovable and suddenly they feel so lovable too.
I love that. And I think when you say milk it, it's just a matter of just get that in your life, get that flowing, get that happening. And my guess is too, that when you start to bring those things in and find them, you find more, right? Because you've opened the door to bringing that in.
Well, yes, what you appreciate appreciates, right? So what you appreciate grows in value, right? It grows and increases in value. And so the more you spend time focusing on and savoring piece of chocolate, the beautiful artwork, the puppy that you love seeing every day, the walk in nature, the exercise, that incredible song that just makes you feel good for no reason, the smile of a neighbor, whatever it is, the more you just think about it, reminisce about it a little, savor it, really just try to feel it and experience it in your body more than spending time trying to understand it so much. Just try to enjoy it as an experience instead of trying to explain it with a thought. The more you really try to embody it, so to speak, the more it grows in time. And you're right, before long, you start looking around, you're like, wow, I don't just love this person who's shining all this light towards me or this chocolate or this puppy. I love everybody else and everything else too. And I'm not doing it to be a moral person. It just feels so good to do it, and I don't have to do it necessarily. It happens through me. It's done through me.
Can you fake it till you make it? Because I would think that sometimes acting as if can be really, really powerful. But I want your take on that.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. It can. It's sort of like a jump starting. I've had scooters over the years, like Vespas. Sometimes you have to kickstart, the scooter or the Vespa. So, or maybe a lawnmower, you kickstart it and it gets it going. So faking it till you make it is fantastic. Actually, it helps you kickstart gratitude or love or peace or happiness. And there are some folks who don't feel any resonance around that. And they say, it doesn't matter how hard I try, I just can't do it. Okay, let that go. You don't need to fake it then. Take the smallest, tiniest thing that you can feel any gratitude or love for or from, and just focus on that to the exclusion of everything else and let that, do the work for you. But yes, faking till you make it is fantastic.
All right. Last question. I think, and this is a whammy though. So our mutual friend, Lisa McCourt, talks about how shame, the energy of shame is like the lowest, the lowest, bandwidth. And I think it's one that unfortunately many of us have been, raised with.
Yes.
What do you say to that? I'm not formulating a question, but I wrote it down in my little book last night. I wanted to get your take on that. Like, how do we deal with that? It's in our world everywhere, for some of us more than others. And I do think it's one of the most caustic experiences that a human can have, because it gets us to, doubt our very own lovable nature.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so to your point, you'll always get more of what you focus on. Okay.
Okay.
So sometimes the challenge and the opportunity with feelings or experiences like shame or like guilt is because they feel so big and so overwhelming, so stressful, anxiety provoking. We focus more of our time, energy, and attention on them. Sometimes in an effort to get rid of it or to change it or to fix it. But generally, what we do is we feed the very emotion we're trying to extinguish, right? We feed it with energy and with attention. That generally does not go well, does not work well. And so instead, I would offer something different. A couple of choices. One is you can, this is not about repressing emotion. It's not about avoiding emotion. It's about simply noticing what you feel and where you feel it in your body. That's a good second step. So we might call it somatic experience, but where do you feel it in the body? And then instead of going to the explanations in the brain, we go to the experience in the body and we say, what is it? What's the temperature of it like? Is it cool? Is it warm? Say, okay. What's the texture of it like? Is it hard or coarse or soft or spongy? So if it had a color, what would the color be? Right? So all this is an effort to get you to feel into the experience or the emotion of the feeling instead of retreating into the thoughts or explanations in the brain. When we go to the brain, we often think we're processing. We are not. We are more than often ruminating and reliving or pre-living the experience. We are feeding the very emotion we're trying to extinguish with time, energy, and attention. Okay. And that just makes it grow larger and loom larger. So you want to go to the body, notice what you're feeling, focus on the experience of feeling it, and do so without judgment. As soon as you find yourself slipping off to the brain, come back to the body again. And if you can, go deeper than that. And then you can even come to a place where you say, well, what is it that is aware of this emotion or feeling I'm having? There's something that's aware of that. So I'm not the feeling or emotion. I'm experiencing this feeling or emotion, but what is it that's experiencing it? What is it that's aware of that? That awareness itself.
Ooh, that works.
Yeah, right. So if you can learn, and over time you'll learn to identify more and more as the witness of the emotion or experience or feeling, and that's sort of a master key of extricating yourself from the emotion or feeling.
I love that. Yeah, that totally worked. In that moment when I was like the witness, then boom, you just go right back up to that natural state. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be listening to that little talk through again. And I think too, for years I was fascinated by all the way back since grad school, the difference between rumination, which we know feeds depression, feeds like people that run. I was a ruminator, true story.
Same.
Big time ruminator. But I also, you hear and you believe this idea that when we express, we release. And I knew that was true too. And one of the things that I did in my years as a therapist, because I don't know if I always get it right for me, but for my clients, I can feel when the energy is building, when we are ruminating and we are just making the problem larger, and when we are releasing. To me, it feels very different. And, releasing really is, to me, bearing witness. Releasing is like when you say, yeah, you know what, I always felt really sad that my parent behaved that way. And, I'm seeing this inner child and I'm seeing her sadness and I'm bearing witness with a loving heart, and it goes.
Yes.
Rumination is where we tell ourselves a story about it. Like, I'm the wounded person that's mother did this, and, blah, 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 blah. And that's okay, because, it's not okay. I mean, you'll just keep feeling it for longer. You're making the story bigger. But again, it's just energy that wants to move. And sometimes it moves recursively and sometimes it vamooses.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It's a beautiful way of describing it. Rumination is indulgence,
Yeah.
right? Distraction is often repression, although there's
Right.
great value in that.
That's good.
Right? Releasing, you're right, does a number of things. One of the things it does is it allows you to experience the um, emotion or feeling from a distance. So there's something about releasing that lets you recognize and realize that you are not the feeling and the emotion, right? So, there's a distance that comes from it. And same
Yeah.
thing with witnessing. So the same thing when you go to see a coach or a therapist. I mean, all of it's really the same work, which is like helping you come to a recognition and realization that you have emotions and feelings, but you're not your feelings and emotions,
Right.
right? And I'll go further and say, at the end of the day, there is no releasing. I mean, because there is nothing that's attached to you in that particular
Yes.
way, right? So, right,
Well
there's
said.
it's just, yeah, and there's also nothing removed from you at the same time. And so, yes, gosh, I love this so much, Victoria. You're such a phenomenal teacher.
Likewise, but thank you. I'll take that in. I will take that in, but I will also send it right back. No, it's beautiful. And I can really feel that. And I love what you said too. There is no releasing but there is that feeling, right? There was that feeling when I was doing your little exercise and I went back to being the witness and I just felt like the cork popped back up, to the top of there was a release. There was a feeling of, now I'm back to myself again in the highest sense.
Yes, that's a beautiful way of putting it. I love that so much. Like, so the idea is the way I think about it. I'm trying to think of a good example, um, but I love the practice of the presence of God. Okay, in Eastern spiritual traditions, we might just call it self inquiry. We can call it meditation. We can call it prayer. We can call it contemplative prayer. The idea is to practice the presence of that which needs no healing because there is no illness, that needs no therapy because there is nothing that needs catharsis or
Right.
processing, right? There's this the practicing that. And that ultimately is one way of talking about release, right? It's
Right.
releasing this identification with thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, perceptions, conditions, and circumstances, and
Right.
recognizing that you are this infinite, eternal, thoughtless, wordless, faceless, formless, spiritual being or energy that is always untouched and unmarred by anything that happens to you, right? Like, so there's that. So yes, I love what you're saying.
There's that.
Yes,
It's catching a break and returning to your true self. That's what it
beautiful,
is. Right. And
beautiful.
that's what healing is. It's returning home. Right.
Ah, so beautiful. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Go
So
ahead.
no, it's you're right about that. And home is a place where your heart is, right? Home is where the heart is, not where the mind is. Home is where the
Yeah.
heart is. So it's something you feel into more than you think into, although thoughts, your mind can be very helpful in that respect and sort of leading you there. And also home is where there's nothing but love, right? And home is where there's nothing but happiness. And home is where there are no problems at all. We might also call it presence. We might also call it spirit.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I am mindful of your time, my friend, even though I want to talk to you forever and ever and ever and ever
Oh, Victoria, same. Like I get
and
I
ever.
get
I'm
so
having so
excited by
much
this conversation, so inspired. You make me
fun.
I'm so deeply inspired and grateful just to connect with you. And every single time I walk away and I have these shivers.
Oh my gosh, you're making my day. Now I know I can't attach to this, but I'm gonna anyway. Okay, just to let
Perfect.
you know where
Perfect.
the state of my humanness right now. But there was one more thought that was coming through when you were talking, and maybe it's for the next time or an off-camera thought. I am gonna bring it up because it just came back into my brain because I've been told again and again too. This is information that I'm getting. Our mind has gotten a bad rap. And I get that. I get that. But the mind is a socially constructed tool. That's what I see. And we'll see what the science plays out. I think this whole evolution thing that we were animals and that's why we have a negativity bias is absolutely BS. I think it's BS because animals are really, really smart and in line and fearless. They're fearless. They respond to life and they work. I mean, domestic animals less so, but animals, and they don't fear their death, right? They're just responding to, it's my time to cross over. It's my time to be food. It's my time to eat, right? They are just part of that circle of life. So I don't believe that our brain that came from that necessarily is the problem. What I think is the problem is actually years and years of human society becoming increasingly contaminated by ego and fear and scarcity and all of that. And I also believe that there's also a critical time now that the mind itself can shift and become a more helpful tool, a more helpful ally, a more helpful partner on this human journey. And I just got chills, and I never get chills.
Yes.
That's not even one of my markers. So I don't know, that just came through to share. I think it's so important. So understanding too that, the mind isn't your enemy. It's a little dirty right now for most of us.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to put it. And I totally would agree with you that, so all of nature is perfectly blissful except for human beings.
Yep.
Only people make a problem out of their own existence, right?
Yep.
I mean, think about that. We make a problem out of our own existence. I mean, look at the hours we work just to live. I mean, look at the way in which nature does not work those hours and lives so much more effectively and efficiently and enjoyably. And also notice the ways in which all of, nature experiences the same losses, accidents, illnesses, misfortune, that we do as human beings, and yet don't, for the most part, experience the kind of depression or suicidal ideation or anxiety disorders or drug abuse or violence upon each other just for violence sake alone. Notice all of that, right? So I would agree with you that this is where human beings and the rest of nature have sort of taken different paths. And a lot of that, I mean, really, if we were boiled down, it's the prefrontal cortex, right? The prefrontal cortex is a much later development in the development of the brain itself. And that is a particularly human kind of development. And that's sort of where all these cognitive biases sort of exist. That being said, to your point, and we don't have to look very far, we can all look into our own lives and see the ways in which we've all changed our own minds about a number of things. Right. I mean, think about the things at 12 that you thought for sure you needed to be happy. Now the things at 30 or 40 or 50, you realize that you don't need to be happy. And then look at all the other folks, teachers like yourself, folks like Jesus or Buddha or Lao Tzu or Ramana Maharshi or Joe Goldsmith or Abraham Hicks. I mean, look at what they've done. Putting me in that. Yeah, sure, of course. Absolutely. That you were.
Go ahead.
That's right. So I 100% co-sign everything you said there.
So cool. All right. I will not talk to you forever, but hopefully we'll have many more opportunities. Rob, just tell people where to find you, what you do. Buy this book. I'm going to be looking at it all the time. It is so beautiful and so inspiring. Your downloads rock. But anyway, anything else people want to know, and we'll put all that in like the comments so that people can find you and connect with you and experience your light, even when they're not listening to the episode, which you absolutely should do because it rocks. It was just
right. That's right. It does rock. It does rock. First of all, so much gratitude for you, Victoria. You're just such a humble, sweet, beautiful, brilliant, living light, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of your life. So thank you for that.
And this guy is an angel. Does everybody, I mean, it's like so striking to me when I look at you. First of all, you have this beautiful energy and you are all of those things, of course, but does everybody see his angel wings on the back with those? I mean, it's like so striking to me. So anyway.
I so appreciate that. You have no idea. I can always use that.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
It's great. This is, we love this. I will always receive that. So thank you. And you can find me at coachrobmack.com. That's my website. You can find both my books, Love from the Inside Out and Happiness from the Inside, everywhere great books are sold, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, all the places. And you can find me on most all social media platforms, probably most consistently Instagram at Rob Mack Official.
Beautiful. All right. Rob, thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and all of you guys watching the replay. I didn't get any questions because I think you are all just probably totally is engrossed in this conversation as I was in listening to Rob. But anyway, thanks for everyone for tuning in. Listen to the episode and enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a great day.
All right. Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much. You were the kindest. You were just awesome.
I appreciate you truly, Victoria. I want you to know, like, emotional, like I truly appreciate you, like what you do, how you do it, and how authentic you are in doing it. It's profound to me. So thank you for that. Like, it's conversations like this and people like you that saved my life, truly. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we're still recording. I'm going to save that too, Rob. Thank you so much. And Lisa says you're going to be in LA when she's here.
I'm hoping that's the case. Yeah, I'm planning on, I need to get out there, and specifically need to get out there now since you all we're out there. I mean, you're always out there, but she's going to be out there too. So yeah, hopefully, and I'll make sure that we all connect if we can. If it's divine.
It's all good. It's all good. I mean, my husband's still, we're in the process of separating, but my husband is still in Miami. My dad's in Miami. So,
Okay.
I get there.
You happy you're out there?
Yeah. Yeah. Miami was our second home, our vacation place for years. And then when I decided that I wanted to separate from my husband, that was where I made them go.
Yes, I feel that. Good for you. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, but we're actually selling that. It's transition, but I'll be back for Thanksgiving, and I'll probably be back in March for my birthday. Like I come back and forth. So our paths will cross when they need to cross. And someday, if it speaks to you, I would love to have you teach at my space. So if you ever want to do a retreat, that would rock.
So that's a hard yes. Absolutely, no question. That's a hard yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we should.
Okay.
Yes. We'll talk about that. Whenever and whatever works for you. I'm sure will work for me. So let's do it.
All right, I'll send you some info. I'll put this out there. This is a big ask. I mean, it's not a big ask, but it's kind of a big ask. So one of the things that we've done is just basically to give the place credibility is we have partners. So Lisa's a partner. I'll send you the website, look at it. If it's something that would speak to you, it doesn't have to speak to you, but if it would be lovely.
Oh, that's great. I would.
And all I do is put your info on the website and say you teach here sometimes. So.
Well, that's a yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's already yes. I don't need to send anything. Let's do that. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. All right, I'll send it to you. I'm still going to have you look at the website and everything first, but also then I hope that you will teach something. I mean, I'm excited because I would love to have you there, and I want to take whatever you teach. So, and
I'm so down, Victoria.
Maybe we can play together too. And this book too, I was so glad that you said it because I was like, oh wow, this is just a total channeled book. Is he gonna?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like
you're gonna talk to it. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
I so appreciate you saying that, and I take notes, copious notes from you, Victoria, like the way that you truly teach, and that's something I've been trying to dial into more and more. It's the mind that wants to get in the way sometimes, but it's okay. I can, and so yes, thank you for saying that, and yes, I want to teach there, and yes, let's play together. It sounds so fun and sexy and all things. Let's do it.
I think it's hard too when you have that following and you have that, right? That there's expectations and there's people that want it to be a certain way. And so that puts you in a different position than someone like me that doesn't have that yet. Is that, it's like, I'm freer to just be me because there's nobody else out there that people know yet. Does that make sense?
Victoria, that makes so much sense. And it's interesting that of course you would say that. I had this thought today. I was like, because I'm always trying to boil things down and say things in a way that will resonate with people, meet them where they are. And